All right. So this is either going to be really good or really bad. So and usually a talk should, give you not only knowledge but emotions and make you laugh, make you cry. It's probably going to be a mix of things. But if you see anything going wrong, be on the positive side. Don't cry, and because now that we're back into going in person and doing conferences and stuff, last couple of conferences I talked at, noticed a lot of people were mainly having slides, and I usually have this tendency of overdoing, and so it's going to be a very hands-on, very live coding session. Well, code that runs live. I'll live code just a little, but so there's a lot that can go wrong. So be ready. And for the intro, I put my enterprisey headshot. It looks really. So first of all, before starting, I really want to know more about you, and what do you do? What are the demographics? Why you're here, and all of that. So I'll start with a few questions. How many here are data scientists? Okay, less than expected. How many here are Python developers? Awesome. And I see overlapping between the two. Who here has more than 10 years of Python experience? Wow, congrats. More than 15. Okay, ODs, the OGs. So how many here have less than 1 year Python experience? Cool, welcome. If it's not your first conference, or if it's your first conference, welcome. Python conferences are amazing, so it's probably not going to be your last one. Who's here to learn something new? Okay, as expected. Who here hopes to get out of the conference with a new job? Cool. Nobody. Nobody will tell, yes. Is your employer in the room? So, who here is expecting to go out of this conference with new friends and new people that can help their job or just connect to? Okay, most of you. And to be honest, that's honestly my experience in conferences. At this point, I'm old enough to say, like, I've been at a lot of conferences, and today I really think the best part of a conference is the social and talking with people and getting to know what they're doing and connecting ideas and things like this. So I highly encourage you to do that. And even if you miss 5 minutes of the talk, cherish those connections and meet new people. Who am I? I'm a software architect at Anaconda, creator of PyScript, and I've been in the Python ecosystem for a long time, doing community stuff and whatnot, especially in Europe for early 2000s, 2010s, and then moved to the US recently. And I want to start this talk with a little bit of context and history. Who here is familiar with this chart? Cool. What is it? Basically, it's an index of popularity for different programming languages. And when the OGs in the room started using Python, you can see that it's basically that here. It was in a very different spot compared to where it is today, which arguably it's the most popular programming language in the world, right? And Python has a very unique trend, and it started really as a weekend project or something along those lines to actually help people get into programming. It became a thing, and you can see through the air some became way more popular, companies started saying, oh, it's a thing now. Maybe we can allow this programming language, especially for large corporations. At that time, I remember I was working with a lot of pharmaceuticals who were having a really hard time to actually introduce Python because of policy. And then through history, Python has this uniqueness of exploding for specific verticals. You know, it became super popular for DevOps, and so increased popularity in that area. The area of web frameworks, the era of data science. We are living through it, and machine learning and deep learning and AI and stuff like this. But one thing that I think is core to Python is that a lot of people say you come for the language, you stay for the community. And I think it's one of the strengths of Python. You know, it's very social, and if you have problems, you can reach out to the community, you can ask people, and you know, I really encourage everyone to feel that and to contribute and use that too. But it's also weird. How's it possible? If you think about it, Python is not great for the mainstream hardware and software today. You cannot run, well, easily. The story of Python on mobile or tablets, it's a non-existent, right? Or it's an afterthought. Same for the most ubiquitous operating system in the world, which is the browser, arguably. You know, Python just, well, doesn't really run on the browser nicely. So, well, that's when we need to introduce PyScript. How many here have heard of it? Or have heard of it? Well, less than half. How many here use it? 3. Awesome. Let's change that. So the basic idea of PyScript is, wouldn't it be cool if you could run something like this? Don't focus on the syntax. But if you could just run Python on the browser, and it's easy as that. You know. Now you can. So we're going to take a look at a little bit more about on PyScript, what it is, the history, architecture, design. We're going to do a few examples. We're going to go through a few examples and demos and news, etc. So, as with any piece of technology, be aware. PyScript is at its beginning. It's very alpha under heavy development. You start using it, you try to start playing around with it, expect things to change, expect things to break, but play with it. Like one of the core ideas behind it is actually to make programming fun again. Also, this talk is also highly experimental. A lot of things can break. So, yeah, it's not an understatement. So what is PyScript? Is a framework or a platform, you can take a look at it in different ways, that enables you to run Python on the browser. Not only Python, but large part of Python ecosystem on the browser. That is powered by PyData, which is a Python interpreter on the browser based on WebAssembly, or MScript and WebAssembly. It enables you to actually write Python and JavaScript and make them work together. It enables you to define environments and manage your environments, pretty much like you would do with Conda or Poetry or other environment or virtual now, but on the browser. And it's designed to be very flexible and pluggable platform or framework. I'll talk more about what's the difference there later in the talk. But first of all, why PyScript? Well, if the reasons I mentioned earlier are not enough, why not? Right? It sounds cool. So the idea is that we want to make it we wanted to make it as simple as possible. And what's simpler than just letting it be HTML? Like you could just open your editor, paste some text in there, and then have Python running on the browser without a lot of overhead boilerplate things to make it work. We wanted to make a production ready, so it's mandatory that we support the whole ecosystem, or most of it. And really, our mission is bigger than this. You know, we really want to make it so that when a break programming to 99% of people that cannot access it, well, either through they're not privileged, or because it's hard to learn programming, or because it's hard to actually get your programs to run. Even if you're learning a language, before you actually can have something working, you need to install Python, which is weirdly not trivial in 2022. On your machine, you need to install your environments, install packages, and all of that. Even to we were talking this through the keynote this morning, reproducible science is very hard because you have different platforms and different machines and dependencies. They don't work really well. Well, the browser is really a standard on these other things. And if we could bring Python to the browser, that would be a lifesaver. And really, we want to make it friendly and hackable. We want to get our users to get hands dirty, do weird things, and collaborate with each other. And I think the browser is the perfect context for this, for it. So really, to get started with PyScript, you don't really have to install anything. You just need to add those 2 lines to your web page, and that's it. Or you can download the bundle and reference it pretty much in the same way. For dependencies, I actually showed you the latest, how you start with the latest version of PyScript, but you have many options as well. As I said, you're going to break things, you're going to go fast. So because of that, we adopted PyScript adopted a versioning system that allows you to reference to the latest version. Alpha is the one that we announced during PyCon. Very hacky, even hackier than what it is today. And since a lot of people started using it and did experiments, we said, okay, we should freeze it. So it's always going to be alpha. And that's the alpha version. And then we also support unstable, which is basically every time we merge a PR, we release unstable. So if you want to use the latest and greatest, but also very broken, this one. And then you can always use a pin version. We release, well, we're trying to get a cadence of it every month. So if you started developing with a specific release, you can pin that and make sure that your code will not change. We're not going to change the code under you. And you should always do that in production. There's also a lot of support coming. Editors and IDEs are starting to integrate PyScript directly. And code, Visual Code has a couple of plugins to enable you to work well with PyScript. PyCharm announced it as well. But how do you PyScript? Well, you add those dependencies at the head of your HTML page, and you do just your usual HTML, and then you can add Python code within using the PyScript tag. This is not actually the only way, but this is like a really easy entry point where you can just drop your Python code in there. It really feels like PHP, which is not really great. I know. And usually people are very opinionated on PHP, which is also not great. But we're not joining the dark side. I'm mostly Italian. This is very, important to me. We're not. It's not pineapple. It's not. There's much more, really much more. Well, for starter, you can avoid mixing code with HTML markup. And you just, I'll be very honest, this is what I would recommend for everyone to use. Just write a Python file and use it as source. Don't put your source code in the tags. That is an easy way for our users to just start playing with it, change code really fast, and all of that. But having a Python file that can reference there directly, it might be a little more complex to do, but then enables you to do it's a best practice. It's way easier to test your code this way. It's easier to run a linter, to reuse all the Python tools that you can use. It makes it easier also to compose with modules and just do normal Python programming. So once we launched in PyCon US, there was a big trend on social media, Twitter. Actually, it was one of my major career highlights. A week later, I came home. My daughter came in the kitchen. She's like, "Oh my gosh, Dad, you're famous! I saw a TikTok on PyScript." So this is a major career highlight, and more than half of those tweets and TikToks especially were something about FUD. Oh my gosh, is JavaScript dead? Or funny memes about performance, or in a way that is really not the way we want to sell or propose PyScript in a competitive way. In my mind, in our mind, PyScript is really additive. So it is not a replacement for JavaScript. It actually is. If you're a JavaScript developer or if you're a Python developer, you should be excited about it, because all of a sudden now Python people can just start using JavaScript tools that they wanted to use for years. I can think in the database world, you can use D3 now, out of the box, easy, just works, beautiful visualization. JavaScript users can now use NumPy, Matplotlib, NetworkX, Scipy, scikit-learn, Scipy, etc. So it's really a win-win, and part of it is also by design. We wanted it to be a framework and a platform that is written, well, it doesn't matter what is written, it's written by TypeScript, but it's irrelevant. But that makes the two worlds talk together well. The difference, I'm going to go over these really fast because I wanted actually to show code. But talking with Peter Wang, who's co-creator of PyScript, we started this idea together. Arguably, it was in his brain before mine, probably. A system built on top of plugins is a system that usually is an indication of engineers not knowing what they're doing, right? And PyScript is really heavily designed around plugins. So it doesn't mean we don't know what we're doing, but really, this is such a big field, open field, that we will never really capture all of users' needs, all of what you want to do. So we really want to make sure that you can create applications on top of PyScript, which makes it a framework, but we want it to be a platform, which basically means you can create frameworks on top of PyScript, right? Pretty much like React has many frameworks on top of it, or you could, using PyScript, create a framework that enables you to do whatever, peer-to-peer call applications, or a slideshow like this, a presentation like this. So as I said, work is in progress, things are changing and improving every day. Some of the features. This is a very professional architecture of how it works. Credits to Peter mostly, and a little bit to myself. It's basically a top layer on top of Python interpreter. In this case, the default is PyData, and on top of WebAssembly. Here there's some scripting. We're considering it part of PyData, which it's really not, but anyway. And we want to think of the browser as this virtual machine that is everywhere and we can use. Honestly, I really think that the browser is the new, VM, and WASM or WebAssembly is really the new Docker. linear to browser line, but also not server side. So really comparing really quick, what's the difference between PyScript and PyData? In PyScript, you would do something like this. You can just use your code, import your stuff. You can use JS to actually communicate with JavaScript, and you can import the DOM, yada. Things mostly work. A few things don't really make sense out of traditional file system. Basically, in the browser, you don't really have access to sockets, for instance, or threads, multiprocessing. Async basically works a little different. But we're working also on solving for those problems as well. So in PyScript, you would do something like this, and underneath it's basically calling PyData for you and interacting with PyData. The cool thing is that PyData provides a lot of the PyData stack immediately available for you, even the Python libraries that have a lot of C dependencies built. Sorry, one quick mention also, PyData is project emerged from Iodine, which was scientific computing of the browser. A lot of Jupyter notebook pipes, and so that is a great foundation for us to do PyScript on top of. So in PyData, you would do something like this. You load your PyData interpreter, and then you can load your packages. You can also load and install from PyPI if they're Python packages, and then you just run code this way. You invoke your Python instance and say run Python here. In PyScript, you do your configuration in a thing they're calling pyconfig, and it's where you define your environment. You can load your packages, pretty much that's just listing your packages. You can load your modules, listing your modules, and then once you run with PyScript, it just runs the code. You don't need to do anything else. We also have another thing in PyScript, which is PyRapple, right? And actually, I think the RAPL, the Python standard RAPL or the interpreter is one of the reasons it's really popular. You can just hop in, try stuff out, it's great. But also the Python community itself and the core devs are really cool. If there are new things, actually I think Python is growing the only language that has a mantra. If you type import this in your interpreter, it will print out this, which is the principles that Python use, and you should be aware of. But if there are new cool things, we also integrate those. Whoever imported anti-gravity in Python? Very few. Fine. You should try. And basically, it will pop up this comment here, which is pretty cool. PyScript has a similar thing. Basically, you can import anti-gravity, and because we are in the browser, we can actually do cool stuff, like actually make it fly. So live animation manipulating the SVG in the DOM directly, all written in Python. And oops, not this one. Get some code, try it out. If I paste a piece of code that just did some stuff and return my object, there you go. It renders on the browser directly. So you can actually have the REPL interactive on the browser using Python, but also JavaScript in live. So let's get into the part of the talk that is a little bit less boring than just be going over and over and over. All right. So, and actually this should have been, I don't know why it didn't load, but anyway. Look at the code. This example, places. This is just like a plotting. We're plotting the correlation between different lines in a line data set using bokeh and actually not bokeh. It's Seaborn and Matplotlib. How this code looks like. You just have a list of packages and then your Python code, and that's really it. It's more than this, of course, but there's nothing really more to it. Every bokeh, 10 minutes. Okay, so I'll speed up and actually have a ton of examples, and I'll get to the ones that are cooler. So in the past months, we kept seeing cool things that the community have been developing and thinking about and stuff. So I really want to showcase some of these as well. Dylan Castillo tweeted he was working on this cool pandas interactive cheat sheet. So you can go there to the website and actually run Python code. And depending on operation, you can say, I don't know, I want to learn about subset rows, then in a data set, drop duplicates, and it runs directly. And sample the in rows, or I don't know, join data frames, and things like this. And he also did another really cool example of a data-viz cookbook, where he put side-by-side different plotting libraries and say, how would a line chart using pandas would look like in terms of code? And this is the result. And you can choose Seaborn, for instance, and say, this is how it plots plotly. And so it really opens up to a lot of new ideas. And on the website, you can have running Python on the browser without servers, without anything. It makes development way faster. Stack plots. There you go. All right. Jeff Glass, who actually just became a PyScript core developer, had also some pretty cool examples. Who here? Okay, so he experimented with running rich and extra lines. Basically, on rich is a CLI type of library on top of Flip that lets you write, terminal applications. Well, you can run that type of things in the browser as well, which is pretty cool. Philip, who works on a lot of data-viz libraries, bokeh, HoloViews, data shader, panel, etc. He's actually been contributing to PyScript a lot since the beginning, and he has all sorts of cool demos. One of them, for instance, is actually running panel on the browser with a lot of those interactive examples. I will actually show a few running. This is the deck.gl one, and you can see it quickly. This in real time. This other one actually. Refresh. Well, it's installing stuff. Oh, so I can run a game of life is on the browser. And that's it. That's how long it's. You can take code from anyone else and then just run the browser without having to install anything on your computer, etc. This one as well. Okay, interactive is where you can have multiple complex plots and stuff like that. This is a real-time trending with multiple plots on the same page. All right, let me see. Well, also another demo. This slideshow was made with PyScript as a plugin. Actually, two plugins. There's a Markdown plugin that allows you to create Markdown text. It's IND, doesn't have a name, but you can actually have Markdown code. The code for those slides actually is in here. It's just a text file with HTML and each slide. And you can see, for instance, the markdown text here. And but I want to show a couple more examples. There's this one that is using actually D3 to show some data viz on a food data set that Chuck works with us at NYC that did to try it out. And this one is a Star Wars visualization on top of the different data sets showing the interactions between characters in different episodes. So, and this is also using D3. And let's see. Okay, so I also have some exciting news. So Anaconda has just joined Bytecode Alliance. What does it mean? Basically, Bytecode Alliance is pretty much like the PSF for Python, but for West, right? It's association that steers the project and creates new things, and we're really invested in it. We really think it's the future of virtualization and running things in containers, and we think we should contribute to it. And it's very important to us, so we're really excited about this. We are also working explicitly to increase the support to PyData, both from a point of view of upstream contributions, but also we are working with the PyData team to see how we can financially support it directly. Really as for PyData, but also for CPython OASM or other projects, we think that their success is PyScript success. We really want PyScript to be a glue project that helps the community of Python on the browser as a whole, and we're really invested in it. And it's also the default interpreter, and it's not going to change anytime soon. Also, there's another big view. One of the major criticisms on PyScript was it's freaking slow, really slow. And it's true, it is slow, because it takes time to run the full Python interpreter on the browser, install your dependencies and things like this. It is not an easy problem, right? If you use PyScript or you've seen some of the examples, you have that spinning wheel that it's, to me, it feels like the Windows early ages when it's loading and loading. It feels me. So I'm really excited to show you this. So we have an experimental branch with supporting different interpreters. And we have PyData and MicroPython is the first next one we're adding. And intentionally so. So here's a very trivial hello world in PyData. And this is how long it takes. And this is how long MicroPython takes. It is orders of magnitude faster. We measured from 10 to 20 on laptops, even higher on mobile. And actually, I'll show you the link. I encourage everyone to try it out. And for instance, this is just a hello, but if I was going to use NumPy, I can run this. I have 1 minute, I will speed up. This is MicroPython, instantaneous. PyData, same thing. So this is really exciting. Really, really exciting. Going faster, as I said, it's small. It's basically 3K kilobytes, 300 kilobytes, and it runs under 100 milliseconds to load. We're also supporting newly designed plugins. These slides are actually using the new design plugins to add more features into the project. And we also started a collective project. Now it's really hard to decide what you want to use, MicroPython or PyData. I cannot finish without thanking everyone that has been supporting the project and helping a lot. Congrats to our new core devs, Fabio, Jeff, and Paul. Those are the other core devs, Antonio, Mariana, Mador, Nicholas, Also Peter, co-creator, Peter Wilson, Philip, Ed, and Yanis have been tremendously helpful. But it's more than this. The community as a whole, I want to really thank the PyData projects and Michael, Roland, Wood, and I will not pronounce his name correctly, Choi. And all the community of Python and WASM, yada, yada, and everyone here and the whole Python community, because we make things happen. And catchy phrase, remember, one idea can change the world, and we highly encourage you to put your work on the open and open source it. And that's it. Thank you, everyone. And
please raise your hand if you have a question.
question there? Yeah.
Quick question. So is PyScript supposed to be supplementary or a work alongside panel, or those are two different things?
Great question. So the question was, is PyScript supposed to be supplementary or complementary to panel, or are they two different things? PyScript is supposed to be a technology or framework that allows you to use panel on the browser. And panel or any other, hopefully any other Python package that you are using on normal Python, traditional Python. And that plus the JavaScript ecosystem as well today. Now, we really hope that in the future, this addition of a new interpreter is just one step closer to also adding other things. Like, I personally would love to see us being able to run a model in R and have it with Python on the browser on the same page, and you can get results and you can transfer data and things like this. I think there was a question in the back first. There.
I just have a question about like installing dependencies. You mentioned that sometimes, like especially with the PyData example, it's like slower. When you're adding different packages, each time the browser is refreshed, it has to install those packages like from PyPy or whatever. Or does it get cached, or are there like smaller versions of the packages that it pulls down?
Great question. So the question was, installing packages is slow. Is it really that bad, or are there mechanisms to help, like caching or other things, so that you can run things faster after? In theory, yes. In theory, your browser will cache. A lot of what takes time, especially for PyData, is basically unpacking and then running the actual WASM, script and code, basically. That should get cached. Now, there are a few other things you can. There's a way to actually declare your app as a progressive web application that basically will pre-run everything for you, and it's already compiled. So it's the thing. But I don't think it works for every application. But that's something that we're actively working as a community, not only PyScript, but every single project on WASM is working on. There are a lot of questions there.
A lot of your demos are running code and seeing the results, which looks a lot like Jupyter.
Mm-hmm.
Are the main ways to think about the difference that you can control the interface? It's not just the set cells, and that there's no server, or how would you describe it?
Great question. The question was, a lot of the examples show typing and coding and then seeing results live, pretty much like similar to the Jupyter notebooks. Yes, so we have a history very close to the Jupyter community. But I was working with the Jupyter Lab team when we started the project at Honda, right, and doing another project on the side. And we think they're very close together. I think the two ecosystems can benefit from each other a lot. A lot of the renders that you saw on Matplotlib, plots, and other things are actually sort of borrowed from or is inspired by the Jupyter project. And I think there's Jupyter Lite as well that is using PyData as an interpreter. I think there are also possibilities for Jupyter to use PyScript, maybe vice versa. But we didn't want to we wanted PyScript to be a little more free. And the REPL is one of those. So you can actually add as many REPLs as you want and treat it as a notebook. basically. But you also can say, okay, I want to have different REPLs on the page and direct the output of this REPL to another div. So you can actually have more interactive or free type of exploratory applications that are not just they don't really stick only with the format that the node has. Hopefully I can answer your question. Yes.
I have three questions and I'll start with two. So one is, how does PyScript provide security? Like for example, if I go with, for instance, JavaScript, if I go and do on the browser, do view source, and I can see everything. Right? So how PyScript provides such secure, provide that all security for things. And the other question is, you mentioned that in the beginning about data science. I'm not a data scientist, but just want to see how it is related to data science.
So the first part of the question is how PyScript provides code isolation, security, and okay. Well, the browser itself is a very secure virtual machine. Like the browser have been doing a lot of jobs. Browsers have done a lot of work to isolate it from your host environment, so you cannot really just access file system or files or things like this. It runs inside WASM, which is within what's supported in the browser, and you also have limited access to things that they are provided by the browser. So the security aspect of it, we are kind of lucky to rely on what the browser provides. Makes sense? How that relates to data science? Basically reproducibility and isolation. Right. Yes.